Part of what becomes interesting, if you think in terms of the sensory dysfunction in our kids, and think of their learning environments. If you understand autistic children, you can understand that the worst environment you could possibly create for an autistic child is put him in a room with other autistic children. Okay. I mean, what group in the world is going to make more extraneous movements and sounds than a room full of autistic kids? Okay. So essentially, it's an absolutely impossible sensory environment for the kids to learn in. Okay? Because we got all this peripheral stuff between movement and sounds. And then heaven forbid anyone touch you. Okay? And when we look at tactility with our kids, generally we find that surface tactile sensation is hyper, and deep tactile sensation is hypo. Okay? Which means you can come up and you can squeeze one of our kids to the point where you hurt and they're just going to smile at you. You kind of say, do it some more. Okay? But touch them gently or put a shirt with a tag in the collar, all right, and they're going nuts. Okay? Surface tactile sensation, hyper, deep tactile sensation, hypo. Again, these are some of the things that got the psychiatric labels. You know, I could say, oh, you know, the child, you know, runs away from your touch. You know, it's not because he hates you, it's because that surface tactile sensation is often hyper. So again, we have to normalize sensory channels, bring down the surface, bring up the deep sensation. Okay? And often we have some issues relative to temperature as well. Okay? So we have to normalize all of these different sensory channels. And again, you know, if you look at the different behaviors in the kids, you can kind of see where the issues are. You know, the stims are your kind of your guide to where the things are broken. You know, you have kids who produce sounds and play with sounds. They're playing with sounds typically right on the edge between frequencies they're sensitive to and not sensitive to. It's kind of like almost a pleasure-pain thing they get into. So they're making these little sound things, or they're banging things, or tapping things. You know, obviously they're playing with those auditory sensory issues. And if you see kids, you know, the kind of kids who come up and say, you know, please tickle my palms kind of deals, you know. That's a hyper surface tactile sensation kid. All right. So you look at what kind of is broken to determine what you need to fix. General rule of thumb that we use with the kids, anything they do that looks weird is, and they shouldn't do it. Okay? Anything they do that looks weird, it is weird, and they shouldn't do it. It looks weird because it's a sensory dysfunction. They're playing with something broken in a sensory channel.